You've waited a lifetime to look better and feel better, and now here's your chance. Fitness Friday on WNDB. Call 239-0033 and have your questions answered on health, fitness, and a better life. Fitness Friday is brought to you by Bodez by Tasso & Company, 1140 West Granada Boulevard in Ormond Beach. And now, here's your host, Tasso Kyriakis.
Hey, I heard him call me in here.
So you got to pull the microphone over to you.
You know, Al just said I didn't need a microphone. So,
Yeah.
Welcome to Fitness Friday on the Friday before Father's Day.
Friday
That's
the 13th, full moon Friday.
Ah, man, don't worry about that stuff.
I don't worry about it, no.
But that ought to be a pretty good night tonight. Full moon. Everybody freaked out over, Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what will happen. Hopefully it'll be a fun time for everybody. I hope everybody gets out and enjoys it. So, Dave, last week I focused, next week we're going to have a very special guest with us. We're going to have Jim Flanagan from ProperStrengthTraining.com.
Oh.
And Jim takes the direction of being opinionated about strength training a little further than Kim Woods, who was our guest 2 weeks ago. But, I'm really trying to get this message out of overtraining young athletes. And that's sort of a theme that I've been bringing forward over the last couple shows and that. And but today I'm going to switch it for a minute, and I'm going to switch to this growing population that is of interest to the fitness industry, which is our senior market. We're very concerned in marketing to those people, but very few fitness centers are actually really set up to do that, to be quite honest with you, because they really don't. The things we're trying to offer in many ways to get people involved sometimes doesn't have the greatest thought process put to it. So I wanted to talk from a very logical sense today about training the senior population and those people who have been inactive for a while and really have not been able to get involved in a fitness program. Really we find with the aging process, more the problem why people are having obesity problems and having those kind of things occur to them is not because they're old. It's because they've been inactive. And so we have really tried to work hard to get people to work with us to understand that this is where we want to take fitness for the senior population, okay? And senior population, if you go to the movies, the senior discount's $55. You go somewhere else, it's 60 years old. I really don't care about age. I care about the people who have been, to me, a senior fitness person is even more important than age. They've been out of function for a while. They have not been in a program that addresses their strength and endurance. It's important for them to become regular exercisers so they enjoy better health, better fitness, and to enhance the quality of life for the quantity of life that they want it. It's equally necessary to take a sensible approach to exercise, starting slowly and progressing gradually to higher fitness levels. This is a concept that a lot of people does not understand. Did I do that right? Do not understand. Does not understand.
Don't understand.
Yeah. We walk into a fitness center. First of all, and you sent me a really nice article the other day. It was that women in their lifetime waste $167,000 on diet programs and the exercise programs that go around them. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I'm sitting there going
something like work out to like $50 a month or.
I don't remember. I didn't read deeper enough into the article.
Yeah, okay.
I can look it back up. But
I think it was.
The thing about it is that I think about that and I go like even if a person had a one-on-one trainer 3 days a week at Bodez and was eating on the eating program, they'd probably spend, with all their food and everything, probably spend $8,000 to $10,000.
Yeah. Total.
Total in a year. But here's the thing: is we, especially the women who come in this population, again, this over 50, over 55, over 60, over 65, over 70, you see as they get to be 65 or 70, start to lose the desire to have the weight loss issue. It's more about functionally being strong and being able to enjoy this quality of life like we talked about. But they start to understand that they want to just enjoy life. Mm-hmm. And it's not as much as the aesthetics. So they tend to start to invest in themselves a little bit more wisely. But to go out, I don't want to knock any programs, but a friend of mine went into a weight loss program and she spent in just over a month to lose 35 pounds, she spent over $2,000. And I'm sitting there going like, now, what did she do to lose that $2,000? Well, she took shots and she took these pills and all this. And because she was concerned, she's, in that 50 bracket. She said, oh, this is my last chance. And she goes down to 700 calories a day. And she deprived her body. And so I have to come back and ask and say, why are we depriving our body? Why is the whole exercise weight loss market circled around deprivation? When in actuality, if we put together smartly a strength training program and endurance program for people, as I'm advocating, and this really, the things I'm going to talk about, they apply to every person that walks in my door, is the way I look at them. I think the first step should be a physical checkup, where you go through and you evaluate. Whether that's, I strongly recommend you see your physician, but most physicians will tell you, well, start walking and eat better. That's their game plan for you. Okay? When you come to me, I'm going to give you a very specific game plan, and that specific game plan is going to be around what your medical and physical history allows you to do. So when we work with people, we begin to start with what's called a PAR-Q, or a history of medical history in that. And I think that's something that should be done for every person ever walks in. Not what do you want to accomplish, okay? And so I'm sort of intertwining two things here because we've gotten off onto the weight loss issue as well. And I think women typically fall into that market, will go spend those huge amounts of dollars on weight loss products and weight loss solutions, when the real solution is a balance of what we've been talking about on this show for as long as we've been here in one form or the other. Recently, we've tried to communicate it as the synergistic relationship of moderate aerobic exercise that maintains and builds muscle tissue because it's metabolically active, and good nutrition. And now I think the good nutrition part of it is what has changed for me more in the last 3 years. Because let's face it, inflammation is the cause of high blood pressure. Inflammation is the cause of hormonal imbalances, which now for men, what does it do? Every day you pick up the news and there's a new solution to low T. They've now convinced us that men have low T. Do we have low T? Yes, we do, because the water we drink, the food we eat, all those things affect what our hormonal levels are doing. Because why? They're affecting our inflammation. Okay, we have women who now are committed to hormonal therapies.
HRT.
All sorts of hormonal therapies, different, and if you look at pretty wise physicians and people, you see a broad range of philosophies of how to approach it, which tells me they don't have a pretty solid answer. It's like everybody's shooting in the dark or trying to market a particular product that they think. So you look and more and more what I think I've been able to digest over the last 3 to 4 years is, I think, in the nutritional part, I think we have to recognize the role of such things as fasting, such things as eating very clean. I think we have to move away from the villainization of micronutrients, of whether it's a fat or it's a carbohydrate, or it's, there's people that come in and they say, I don't eat any carbohydrates. I said, well, what did you eat today? And they say, well, I ate some salad and I ate some broccoli. And what do we think? What are you thinking?
Those are carbohydrates.
Those are carbohydrates, but they're very good, complex, smart carbohydrates.
People think of bread and pasta and those things for
Correct.
the carbs,
And those are more sugary carbs. Those are very sugary carbs. The nice term I like hearing said now that probably helps more people with health is, I've gotten away from the white flour products. I've gotten away from, that's probably a nice move for most people to do, because those are very high sugar contents of the body. And this comes in that solution of how we work with the senior population. So, I want to talk a little bit about how we start, and the goal of when we start a person coming into a fitness program at Bodez that is in this market, because I think it's, and again, it goes and it applies to every person. We had a an 11-year-old girl start a program yesterday, and the questions that she was asked was very similar to the same questions a 71-year-old lady that started the day before her are in there. Because here's the situation is, we want to know what they've done. We want to know what their experience level is. We want to know what their medical history. Do they have high blood pressure? Do they have joint problems? What are we going to find when we look at them? So the first thing we do is we start to look at this joint integrity, because we know that a lot of people in that age bracket are going to have, at some level, arthritic changes going on in the bones. That's why when we get up out of bed every morning, we're not ready to jump right out like we used to when we were kids. We jump up and we'd run wherever we wanted to run and off we're not. Now we got to get up. We got to sit up on the bedside. We got to get our balance about us. We got to get our druthers about us. We got to make sure our joints are moving good enough, and then we get up and we stabilize ourselves. We don't just sit up on the edge of the bed, stand up, and go. And that's a challenge for us. And so the first thing that I tell people is the basic thing that I want to start your program is basic strength training exercise that can address many of the major muscle groups that are involved with the common pushing and pulling movements that go on with several muscles simultaneously. I think there is a skill. If I say to you, here's a dumbbell here's a dumbbell, do a bicep curl with it. There's a skill with moving that one joint at a time and keeping your posture. But if you say to a person, I would like you to push or pull this weight in and out like this, in a movement, in a linear motion, that's an easy movement. So when I work with people who are coming back into their programs, I like to involve as many muscle groups as possible in the exercise. And I only like about 5 exercises when we start. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my functional 5 for over 50 and tell you why I have it in there. Number 1 is I begin actually sort of against the old knowledge training principles. A lot of times, especially with the women, I begin with a neck machine. Now, those of you who have heard me for years upon years have heard me talk about the knowledge training principles. And in those knowledge training principles, we were going to start with the largest muscle group first, and we were going to move to the smallest muscle group. Well, some of the discoveries of the last 5 or 6 years in working with Doug McGruff was, the women especially have done a lot of aerobic exercises. This is what they were sold through the 70s is, if you want to stay slim and trim, and Covert Bailey wrote a great book on the aerobic pathways and said, no, you got to get out and cycle and run and bike and go to aerobic classes. We had the step classes. We've had boot camps and all these things that we've seen come into existence. Those predominantly had a big focus on the lower body. So most women walking through the doors, they have a strong lower body. Okay, but women especially, I want women to note this very much. Do you get headaches? Are you a girl that works at a desk and you get headaches at 4 o'clock in the afternoon? That can be from 2 things. It can be from number 1 is that your neck, your muscular sleeve of your neck is weakened and fatigued during the day, and now you got all this pressure on your neck, and the stress has a much bigger effect on you. So you know what? You begin to cut down that signal. You begin to get fatigued. You begin to get that forward head lean, and now you start to get headaches. And so we can strengthen that neck, and I'll come back to talk about that. The second part of it is that we neglect our upper body. Women are always afraid that they have to neglect their upper body because they don't want big muscles. So when we talk to these people now, we come from the standpoint of, I love the senior population to start with the neck as the first exercise for 2 reasons: postural, number 1, and number 2, this is a very small muscle group, and in most cases is very weak. And this is why we see an awful lot of people have shoulder. And again, look at that over 50, 60 market. What's one of the big fears of them is that they're going to get a frozen shoulder. Okay, that frozen shoulder is going to affect them. They're not going to be able to have their range of motion. They're going to have to go to physical therapy. They have to do all these exercises. Some people have to have shoulder surgeries. Men get a lot of the same issues. Why? Because they played sports, they threw baseballs, they threw footballs. They get a deteriorration of the rotor cuff.
You know how some they fix the frozen shoulder often? I mean, because it's an issue where it's like a lot of times it's like scar tissue and things that build up in it. They'll put you under, like however they put you under, and they manipulate that arm and swing it back and forth and kind of break up that
break up the scar tissue.
And I'm sure it doesn't feel great when you wake up.
And so put that into this concept now, Dave. If we can take and give a person a strength training regimen that is geared towards full range of motion exercise. In other words, we start with a very light weight and we move through full range of motion, and we continue to keep that range of motion as we work a person. Okay? People sometimes get confused. They go like, well, that guy Tasso, he works people pretty hard. They're absolutely right. I work people hard who it's appropriate to work people hard too. I work people into their fitness level. Okay? But most people that have come in and they do their first orientation or second orientation or third orientation to their one-on-one program, they'll tell you, man, it was a lot easier when he worked me out. Why? Because I start them at a level that is below their potential because I don't want them to be sore. The people who come in and I try to make sore the first time, or the people who come in and tell me, I want to make sure that I feel like I worked out today. Those are the people, because some of those people come in, I have triathletes that come in, they're in great shape. They don't want to invest in me if they don't know that I can give them a workout that is going to tax their system. Mm-hmm. This is not applicable for most of the population. A football player comes to me to get ready for the NFL. Okay, one of the first things I have to do, because what we do is so different than what they've been exposed to in college and that, is that we have to work them hard so they understand that we can make enough stimulus to change their body. Why? Because if we don't, they think, no, this isn't that hard. This isn't as hard as what I did in college. This isn't going to get me ready for the NFL or the CFL or the AFL or the basketball or the track. So we have to take them and train them a little harder off the bat. So, people who see me train those guys are going like, oh, wow, I don't want to work that hard. Well, you're not going to work that hard when you come in, because we're going to do this first step of getting to know what your fitness level is and what your medical history is. And as I said, more and more I see myself, especially with the senior women, of starting them with the neck machine. Even though it's a small muscle group, it is a weak muscle group. So I've chosen to train the smaller muscle group first while it's at its strongest time frame, and start it with a weight below its potential. Mm-hmm. What that does is, the other thing that occurs, and those people who have exercised many times come in with breathing habits that they already are committed to. They got used to working out when they were in high school and they went away, or college, and now they've worked in a career and they haven't stayed up their exercise program, so they go back and they start their exercise program back, and they're going to come in, they're going to go and they're going to hold their breath a lot of times when they work out. But we move so slowly so that we can use less weight to work a better range of motion.
I like that. Yeah.
They don't have to hold their breath. We want them to breathe continuously, but sometimes we have to teach them that. And one of the
holding your breath is not good for your blood pressure, right?
Not good for your blood. That's the point I was going to cover. Is
okay.
One of the first
I can
things
do this show if you don't have to want to come in.
That's right. Listen, take over for me. Do you remember what it's called?
What's that?
That when you hold your breath, it affects your blood pressure.
It's called hyperventilating.
No. It's called Valsalva.
Valsalva.
Because people will hold their breath.
I thought that was Viking Heaven.
Viking Heaven? No.
That's Valhalla.
Is it? Okay. It's not Van Halen, is it? No.
We're off track.
Again, imagine that. Yeah. So what happens is when they hold their breath, right? They close off the esophageal area, so they get a back pressure. So now all these small capillaries in the neck, they begin to get too much pressure on them, and they'll rupture very easily because they're very small. Then you get this massive headache. It feels like someone's taken a big old nail and driven it through your forehead. Okay, so we don't want people to have this thing. But it's especially, as we hit 60 and 65, we're especially susceptible to this condition if we haven't been working out, if we've had a neck injury in the past, if we have high blood pressure, if we've been on medications that are for high blood pressure or for anti-inflammatories, and those things seem to make us a little more susceptible to this as we age. So now, and this for people who don't really get the visualization. Imagine that time you were going to sit to go to the bathroom, and you were squeezing it, and you squeeze really hard because you're sort of constipated, and your head got really lightheaded afterwards, right? That's Valsalva at a smaller degree. Now, when it happens to the people who have these other conditions and neck histories and things of that nature. So one of the purposes of warming a person up on their neck as the first exercise, even though it goes against some of the knowledge training principles, is we get that nice blood flow through there. We get them getting that area warmed up, so it has the blood flow. Now, when we go to the machines of the upper body, in most cases now for these people who have this kind of history of inactivity, but they've done walking or running or things of that nature, or aerobic classes, we start with a large muscle group like the rowing machine or the chest press machine or a pull down machine to mimic many muscles in a pulling motion. Is usually what I like to go with, because what's it do? It stretches that motion out that we just did on the neck. It stretches the neck muscles out, stretches the shoulders out. It allows us to work our biceps, our shoulders, our lats. So the second machine, usually in my functional 5 for the 50-plus market, is a rowing exercise. It also helps us what we were just talking about. Let's get those shoulders loose. Let's keep full range of motion on those shoulders. Let's stretch them out so we don't get the frozen shoulders. People who have played sports like tennis or basketball or softball or football or baseball, that overhead hitting tennis, golf, we've taken a beating on that rotor cuff. So let's stretch that out. If you look at a lot of golfers, what do they have as one of the two areas that probably affects them the most from a standpoint of functional difficulty is, number one, their low back, and number two, the upper back, which we call the rhomboid area, that and the levator scapula. It's the
There's
muscles.
like a name for everything in our body.
It's like every muscle has a name. It's like those French. They have a word for everything. So if you put your hand on the back of your neck, like you stretch your back, those muscles that go down beneath the under your lower than your neck are called your rhomboids and your levator scapula. Oh. Those are a trouble area for people who play tennis and people who play golf. So what we want to do is we want to stretch and strengthen. Remember one of the guidelines we learned from Tasso Span as a trickle point myotherapist is that muscles that have poor range of motion are reflecting the weakness of the muscle. So when we work to rehab somebody, we want to get long, strong muscles. So again, we move against this previously perceived idea that people had, that people who are very strong have little, short, big muscles. Right. Okay, they may have big muscles, but we want them long and strong. Listen, we have some great athletes that we've been able to train at Bodez. They have long and strong muscles. Okay, we want to do the same thing for our 80 and 90-year-old that we're doing for our 16-year-old. We have, we have 3 young men that I'm very excited about this year that we're training. That one is a long distance runner, one is a wrestler, one is a football player, and we have worked them through some rehab of joints that they had injured, and it's been great to see their progress, how strong they've gotten. But the thing that both of them will tell you is I've never been this flexible. I've never been able to reach down and touch my toes in that type of fashion. I've never been able to spread my legs so I can almost do a split. Why is that? Because full range of motion is a component of you training properly and getting the best results out of your exercise program. So the first exercise we talked about on this functional 5 for over 50 was the neck, to strengthen the neck. Most neglected muscle for women. Going back to that thing, let's put another a little fitness tip in there for women. Where are you most susceptible to having things like osteoporosis? Okay,
back and neck.
Neck, hips, and wrist. Those are the three most prevalent areas. Yet, if you walk in 95% of the health clubs in this country, there's no neck machines in there. Why isn't there a neck machine? Because they're not thinking. Most fitness centers are built in the concept of saying, well, we're going to get people here who want to be fitness models or that type of thing. We've built our facility to say, how are we going to enhance the quality of life of every person that comes in and works? And again, it starts with strength training as the foundational thing to it. So we'll talk about metabolic because that's a little bit different than what people have heard, Dave. What have people heard? People are, well, go do your 20 minutes of cardiovascular exercise, then go do your strength training session, then do some more cardio after. Is that what we've always heard?
More or less.
More or less, right? Okay. And I even used to preach that. So, okay, go warm up for 20 minutes.
I think that's where I heard it.
I think so. After 20-something years on the show with me, probably is where you've heard it. So now we've covered the first machine, neck machine. We covered the second machine, rowing machine, is where you're sitting and you're pulling back to you. We're not changing the position of the back. We have the back stabilized. So if there's a back history there, what do we do? We stretch and strengthen those back muscles.
I see people leaning when they're doing it. They're pulling, they're using their back on that machine.
That's right. It's like they think they're rowing a boat.
Yeah.
Okay? It's called a rowing exercise, but it shouldn't be rowing a boat.
No.
Okay? So the second exercise is usually either a chest press, a pushing exercise where you sit and you push outwards from your chest out, or is a seated dip where you have your hands up in your armpits and you push down. Why? Because the person on the seated dip usually has an extensive neck history. So once again, we're working on rotation of the shoulder joint and strengthening the muscular sleeve around the shoulder joint. So if the person comes in and says, oh no, I don't have a neck problem, I'm in pretty good shape, we're going to go to the chest press because it actually involves a few more muscle groups, gets a little more range of motion for the classical pushing and pulling type of movements. So now we're going to strengthen the push. So now in the first 3 exercises, we have strengthened the neck, which is very important to everybody from the standpoint of, if you heard my show, I think last week I talked about functional posture of that. Now, I should probably take a break here and just sort of regress a moment and say, we do have the Hot Bodies Summer Membership is on special right now at Bodez. And everything I'm talking to you about is what we can do for you through our general program, because it is our supervised program. It is our Hot Body Summer program. It gives you our Body Coach program. Now, the Body Coach program from now till September 10th is $199. That's your only commitment. You don't have to pay monthly dues. You know, if you need help on putting it together to where you have to pay it on a monthly basis, we can help you out from that standpoint. But this program is $199. What it does for you, it introduces you to a supervised exercise program where every step along the way there's someone guiding you. It also gives you our appointment with fitness program. Our appointment fitness program is going to help you from the standpoint of sticking to it, your stick-to-itiveness. We're going to put your name on a board in a time zone that you're going to come in. For instance, this morning before I left, the girl, Casey, was working the floor. She says, I'm so happy. All my 8 to 10ers are all coming in early this morning, right? So they're all getting in early. As they come in, they go to the board. She erases them and knows she doesn't have to call them to give them that fun little motivational comment. Said, hey, Dave, you were supposed to be in by 10. It's 11:30. Can we reschedule you for another time today, or would you like to come Tuesday this week? You know, that kind of affiliation, which is something in the past we tried to do. This is the most organized way that we've done it. We've made an actual program of commitment to it, and so it's working very well for keeping people in their programs.
A lot of health clubs or fitness centers, they don't care if you come in or not, as long as you get the bank draft every month.
Well, let me just, and again, I don't want to knock franchises
No,
because I have good friends
that
have Planet Fitnesses and that. But what is the motivation if and now on a national scale, I'll knock it. You know, the business plan for Planet Fitness is $10 is enough that once we get into their budget, they'll forget about it for the most part, and you know, they'll just let it come out every month, and they won't move it. If you talk to Kevin, who owns the Planet Fitness on the beach side, one time he commented to me, he says, you know, Tasso, I have like 3,500 members.
They all showed up.
This is several years ago, and he said my parking lot is slower and emptier now than it used to be when I had only 1,100 members that were paying me $35 a month.
Isn't that something?
Okay, it's the investment you make. If you're making, you know, I had one of my first partners. He said to me, he said, look, put nice equipment here, charge people $10 a month, and give them a nice looking card, and let them just go out and, you know, all they want to do is say that they're a member of a health club. Well, that's true. There are people that want to do that. Who fits into Bodez as membership programs are the people who truly want to make a change. They're willing to make a commitment, whether that commitment is a larger financial commitment for closer personal attention, or if it's a commitment to say, I want to know that this is a facility that isn't overrun at prime time. I can get on the machines I need. I've got someone there to answer my questions. All that, again, going back to the Hot Body Summer Shape Up is included in it. Now, if you're a student, you have a student you want to buy a membership for, that same program is only $99 for them. But in this program, you get the appointment with fitness. You get our Smart Start program. It's how we start you your first 3 times, and we follow up with you every 12 to 24 workouts with an evaluation. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. Our Fitness on Demand system, which is the newest technological addition we've done. We have a 120-inch screen that at any time you want, you can take the class you want, more than 122 classes. You can take it at the time you want to take it, and you can take it with the best instructors in the country. These are all included in this program. No long-term commitment. It takes away that fear of failure, that you're not going to succeed because there's supervision there. It takes away that fear that you won't stick to your program, that you're going to waste your money getting involved in the program. This is the program. If you'll answer your phone call when we call, you'll show up for your workout because we're committed to helping you be successful. So now I've covered that. I wanted to make sure I sort of did the promotional part of the show to get people to come out and call 672-6464 for that, and we'll get you set up. We'll make an appointment, come out, get your trial workout in, get going. Now let's talk about the 4th machine in the functional 5 that we use for our over 50 population.
Lower back.
We did neck first. We did the rowing machine, which is a pulling exercise where we stabilize the spine. Right. We work on the biceps, the shoulders, the lats, the rhomboids, the levator scapula.
Again, a name for everything.
And good posture is imperative because what do? By that maintaining that good posture, we have a dynamic contraction which holds the body in form and makes sure we get other muscle groups involved. On a row machine where you're sitting down, Dave, on a chest press machine where you're sitting down, you still work your hip flexors and your glutes when you start to fatigue and work hard. And this is the important part of progression in working out. You want to work in that thing where if you can do 6 or 8 repetitions, you want to continue on to 9 and 10 and 11 and 12. Yeah. even if you're not getting full range of motion, because what happens is if you keep your posture, if you keep a slow pace and no compromising of your body, which we call keeping the position of the posture, you now will involve secondary muscle group, which has a great benefit metabolically to the body.
I remember when I did come work out with you, and I still work out, but if the machine had a belt, you made sure I was buckled in. If the machine had a belt, I was wearing that belt.
And not because we think you're going to fall out of the machine. Why?
No.
Why is it? It's because we want to make sure that you keep your hips in. We want to give you every advantage to maintaining your posture so you do not. Listen, people don't get hurt on weight machines because the weight's too heavy. Okay? I challenge you to bring me the weakest, oldest person. I will put them on a machine. And as long as they will listen to me, I will put the machine in the heaviest weight it has. And I will tell them to push that weight the way I told them to push it. And they will not get hurt. You know why, Dave?
Because they won't move it.
They won't move it. You do not get hurt on a weight machine because you're lifting too much weight.
Right.
You get hurt on a weight machine because you're lifting too much weight or compromising your posture while lifting that weight.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Gotcha.
You have your body in a non-safe position. It is so important. This is the hardest point to drive home to people about working out. Working out is foundationally about strength training, number one. Number two, we need to build that strength so that we can get around and we can motor around. You can't drive a car without a good engine. We're keeping that good engine in shape. You cannot get aerobically fit if you don't have your muscles to help you work. The muscles are the engine of the body. We are not going to get large muscle groups because we lift lots of weight, but we need to lift as much weight as we can lift with good form and a time frame that challenges us, and it works us from the standpoint of progressive overload so the body adapts. If you're going to a gym, folks, and you've had the same weight on the same machine for the last 6 weeks or the last 6 months, you've digressed. You've gotten weaker because your body gets more efficient because it does not have to stimulate to keep working from that standpoint. So that's why we are big emphasis of progression when we work out. So the fourth machine is the leg press machine. Why? Because we want to be able to get up and down. We want to have the ability to motor and get around. And that leg press machine is a total lower body exercise. Now, if a person comes in and they have a back problem, Dave, I'm probably going to do leg curl or leg extension because I don't want to compromise. I don't want to compress that spine. I don't want to torque it. That's why that first coming in and talking to him is the most important. Got a phone caller?
Let's give out the phone numbers. 239-0033. If you're an AT&T wireless caller, it's star 1150. Or the toll-free number, because I know you have people listening in Greece as we speak. Well, actually, this toll-free number is only for...
Actually, they've called from Australia on that number. So yeah.
I thought it was just for the continental U.S.
Remember when Billy was in Sydney?
That's
he called on the 800 number.
It worked. 1-800-927-0033. Mike joins us on Fitness Friday on WNDB.
Hi, Mike. Welcome to Fitness Friday. How can we answer your questions?
Hey, good morning. I had a bad motorcycle accident 2 months ago. Broke my C7 vertebrae front and back. Broke all my ribs on my right side. My lung collapsed.
Oof.
I was on a chest. I had a chest tube put in. Anyway, I'm getting back into shape. I'm not going to be released, I don't think, until next month from the doctor's care because of the neck injury. When can I start working out after that? I got a lot of limited range of motion, and I want to start feeling better. I want to get back into shape a little bit more. Because of all this, I haven't been. My stamina's gone. I haven't been working as hard as I've been.
Right.
Actually, I'm not supposed to be working at all. But
Right.
When can I go back and start doing things?
Well, I'm going to answer that from two perspectives. I'm going to tell you from the one perspective is that we'll follow a doctor's recommendation to what he wants you to do and gives you the ability to do.
Sure.
In this case, you have it sounds like a chest and a neck injury. That doesn't preclude us from working at the lower body several times for several people. So I would say that when I heard these injuries, I would talk to the physician and say, what will you allow them to do? Can they work just their lower body? Because there is a systemic effect when you work your lower body, that the upper body receives a systemic effect, because this is one of the reasons why I don't like people to train in body parts where they split routines one day to the other and think they're resting their body. You're never resting a body part if you train properly. So my first thing is the very aggressive posture of a guy that's not at risk anywhere, and he says, I got to get back into it. It's like we got an athlete that needs to work. We'll train the off limb. Right now I cannot train my left leg because I had surgery. It's not coming along well. I still train my right leg. I still train my whole upper body, which increases the healing pace of my left leg and the things I do. So that's the first answer, is that we can work from the standpoint based on the psychological posturing of the person of what can be done. In your case, there's not a lot of upper body flexibility because you have a chest injury as well as having a neck injury. The doctor will release you, and the first step we will do with you when we work in the upper body is work what we call pain-free arcs. We'll pin the machines and make sure we only work through. I would tell you that usually what I see most times after an injury where there's been something that has been broken, a surgery, usually I'd say the quick time that physicians will release people is about 4 to 6 weeks that they'll let them start to do things. The longest time frame seems to be that 3 to 6 month period of time when they've had a real major surgery and there's a real concern for them. So
I had no surgery. I was in a neck brace since April. And I'm not supposed to be taking any of that stuff off till July.
Right.
It's a 3-month kind of thing where I guess it's going to heal itself. They considered surgery and they decided against it. But it's still sore. Everything. I'm 52 years old and I'm not bouncing back like I did. I haven't broken ribs since I was in my teens. And it seems a lot easier then than it does now.
Yeah. Well, I would tell you that broken ribs are a tough thing to come back because, you can't put a cast on them. And every time you breathe deep, so if you start working hard, you breathe too deep, you go, oh, and it catches you. So, you have to be cautious. You have to pick the things that, that do not exasperate your situation, and we move you along in a good progress. And again, it goes back to that first answer I gave you is sometimes you have people that are really just aggressive-minded individuals. The day after my surgery, that I was released from the hospital, I was back working out. I said, I've had my crutches and I was hopping from machine to machine and using my good leg and using my upper body because I could. Now, could I have done that if I have an 80-year-old client that fell in his bathroom, broke his neck. We've been able to work into working his upper body and his lower body. We now have progressed after 3 months where we don't use pain-free arcs with him anymore because he's got full range of motion and his strength's coming back. But we still haven't ventured into strengthening the neck directly. We'll do shrugs with him. We'll do some exercise that work indirectly into the neck muscles. But the short answer is your doctor's going to release you. He's going to say, hey, listen, you can take that off, or he'll say, keep your brace on and go see the guy at the fitness center. And I got to tell you, those ribs, those cracked ribs are the ones that are going to be, you're going to be 8 to 12 weeks with those things before they start to feel decent.
Right. Well, I guess I need to speak with him, and then I'll come see you. Thank you, Todd.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate the phone call. And now, we have 2 great co-sponsors. I was just thinking to myself, how am I going to talk about my sponsors? They've not wait till the end of the show. We have our sponsor for our stressless chair that we're giving away in our member promotion, the Kalen's Furniture, and used to be Kane's Furniture years ago. Kalen's Furniture with Lenny Frazier and Rod Gould and the Kalen family. And we appreciate them being a sponsor at Bodez of our great giveaway of the stressless chair. And we have Dr. Fahn with Acupuncture and Beauty Care. And Dr. Fahn has been with us now for about 6 years working together. And Dr. Fahn, welcome to the show today.
Oh, good morning, Tasso. This is a surprise call because Dr. Price's wife and he and I'm working on the injury. So, we haven't talked about sport injury, and this is perfect timing because I have Dr. Price in the house and Miss Price in the house.
Wonderful. Hello, Doc Price.
Hi.
How you guys doing? I miss you, man. I haven't seen you in a while.
Don't laugh much if you broke your ribs.
Yeah, don't laugh in there.
Yeah.
So people who don't know Dr. Price's wife, they are we've been talking about the senior population strength training, and Doc, you're an example of this group that the way we all want to be. And refresh people, because I always call you 90 and you're like 80, 88, 86?
87.
87. And
87.
You're a national. You and your wife both are national champions.
Yes.
In water skiing.
Right.
Okay. And so when you see you guys, the videos of you guys skiing, you look like 30-year-olds. And
we get beat up like 30-year-olds. That's why we're in here. Dr. Vaughn's getting a tune-up.
and when you're in a boat that's traveling 30 miles an hour to pull you, you're actually going like 60 miles an hour, right?
Yeah, well, you have to go 60 to get around each one of the buoys. Correct.
So when you hit the ground, when you hit the water, it's like hitting cement.
Yes, you skip about 3 times until you go down to about 32 miles an hour, and then you penetrate.
There you go. So now what happens is you have, and Dr. Fine, you and I have worked from the standpoint of, yesterday I sent you a professional golfer who has had a chronic back injury for some time now. And I sent him to you because he's got his range of motion back. He's starting his strength back. But the solution to him getting better is a longer-term solution, because he's going to need to figure in and budget for longer-term of getting treatments, because you have to go back and get deeper. It's deeper seated. With Dr. Price and his wife, what you do is a lot of times you can get them relatively quick relief, because you're dealing with a traumatic injury that you can get the inflammation out and start to get the healing process going, correct?
Yes. This is a perfect scenario because I was just very fortunate that we had Dr. Price as a medical doctor and a surgeon, and, he in favor of, getting natural therapy treatment versus painkiller. And I think he served as exemplified to our, older population that if you sprain your neck, sprain your knees, sprain your hips, acupuncture is a great therapy. It just, they serve as an example, so you can come and get, straightened out quick, because acute problem, I can put it back really fast.
Right. And let's not get people just into the pain management mindset. They have to be open-minded about what acupuncture, the 6 years I've been with you, Dr. Fahn, here's what I've learned. We can balance hormones. We can get people to sleep better. This is just some of the testimonies we've had on this radio show with that third Friday of the month that we do. We can help people from the standpoint of chronic pain. We can help people that need that have neuropathies. We can help people that have depression problems. We can help people to get pregnant, that are having pregnancy fertility problems. We can help people. I have a friend coming to see you that she has had cancer treatment. And this is a way to I was talking to Dr. Demayuga, who is going to be on the show with us here in the next couple of weeks, and Dr. Demayuga said, in his practice, I applaud him, because he's one of the few physicians I know that does not allow pharmaceutical companies to come in and entertain his staff, because he does not want to be prejudiced by their education. He says, if I have to get education, I'm going to read the research. I'm going to read the articles. I'm not going to let someone come tell me about their product and leave out the stuff that I really need to know about it. And he will tell you that cellular cleansing is one of the most important things that you can do. It's what we were talking about, cellular cleansing. One of the key ways to do that is fasting. But you physically can cause a lot of cellular cleansing by what you do and changing how the organs and the glands work in the body, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So let's not paint acupuncture into a treatment that is only for pain. We're going to talk about it from the standpoint of traumatic injury with Dr. Price, and my friend that came to see you yesterday, the golfer, for him from the standpoint of a chronic injury. But it's not just pain management. It is about all sorts of treatments. It is a systemic treatment to the body, because as you Dr. Price would probably have other problems other than what he came to you today for. If he were to sit at home and put it in Epsom salt and just try to stretch it out and rest and ice it, he'd start to have other things start to cause problems to him as well. Right, Dr. Price? Would you agree to that if you were not proactive with this?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we believe in lots of modalities for staying healthy and being able to compete.
So Dr. Fahn, you agree with me on making sure people, because I still think that the greatest thing that you offer to people is a stress relief treatment. I think that stress relief treatment is a foundational. If I could get it in my schedule, I'd be there every week. I try to be there, but how it's been the last couple of weeks for me. I would be there every week for a stress relief treatment, because that keeps the system balanced to some degree, in spite of everything we got going on in our bodies in our daily life. Correct?
Yes, Tasso, one thing I hope, like we've been, the reason why, Dr. Price and I work so well, and Dr. Demiuga and you yourself, because as a team, we want to promote natural treatment, healthy treatment, and help people stay healthy, And I believe that, a good health is priceless, And if you don't have a good health, what happens? It can cause anxiety, depressions, and lead to an unhappy life,
Right.
I hope people had a little bit open mind about, anxiety, stress, and depression, because what happened as, you and I work about 6 years now, acupuncture is more, it can be localized treatment and it can be systemic treatment. Systemic is like helping you to produce like more endorphins, those natural happy chemicals, and decrease cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone from adrenal gland. So acupuncture had been studies that it had the influence or balance the biochemical inside the brain and the whole body. That's why when you come for acupuncture, half an hour, 45 minutes for distress or anxiety and depressions, it's a great therapy. But I don't know why the psychiatric or psychologist may perhaps need to incorporate acupuncture to improve the overall physical and emotional and mental wellness for the patient. Do you agree with that perspective? But they need to incorporate, but I haven't find that psychologists or psychiatrists utilize, my service yet.
Right, and that's just something that you need to get that first one person that's in that field that will then talk to their just like you've expanded in the medical market to people who are sending you more and more people now, is because at some point you had a physician come see you, then the other physician said, well, I think you're nuts for going to acupuncture because we're doctors, we know everything or whatever. And then the guy gets results and they go, man, you're playing golf better than you've ever played, or you look great. And he says, yeah, I've been going to this treatment. Now his friends are going to come to you. And it's going to take that first, because I think a lot of the people who are psychiatrists and psychologists, they have more, because they have to listen to everybody's problems and they deal with them. So, you need to get one of those people that then starts to send their people, because it is a hormonal balance many times that you hear. It's a chemical thing. And what, like you told me the first time, acupuncture is like thermodynamics of the body. It's like physical chemistry. And it's a balance of what's going on in the body, and that's what you do. And I think it is, again, you've said it very well, a systemic treatment as well as a localized treatment. We have athletes that have bad hamstrings, have bad ankles, that you treat them, just like you're treating Dr. Price. And then we have people who come in, they have the neuropathies, or they have the chronic problems, or they have the sleep problems, and you're able to help them. And every one of them will tell you that they get this benefit of clearing the mind, the brain fog goes away, the energy, the energy, what do you call it? The energy differentials are going up and down. That goes away. They get more balanced energy. So that's what we're going to work on from that standpoint. And it really is a very synergistic relationship we have going on, because what happens is now when we work together, we're taking care of it physically, we're taking care of it with mentally, we're taking care of it from the standpoint of eating, the spiritual part. All of it comes together. So that's so important. And again, we focus today on this program on talking about the senior market and this functional 5, but everything I talk about and do, I have the ability and I have the desire. If people had limitless money, I'd have them going to you. I'd have them going to, every time they could, because I think it would just make everything better. And so much of what we see in the senior market especially has issues with their chemical thing, because their hormones and that, because they have not. That's why people are falling in these traps of hormone medications and low T syndrome and that type of thing. Listen, if you're eating right and you're exercising and you're stimulating through your aerobic exercise, that parasympathetic pathway, because you've worked hard enough, is the point I was trying to make earlier. Hard work is integral to the body changing and the chemistry of the body changing, and you helping the body recover by what you do. I love when I can come to you right after a workout, Dr. Fahn, because I rest better, I get up more refreshed the next day, and I recover quicker from my workout.
Absolutely, Tasso. And we had this summers, and I know that some people, a lot of them, I think 70% are skeptical about the treatment, because they never exposed yet. They never exposed, and never experienced, never exposure, and never had a formal education in acupuncture. So this summer, what we do is special. Whoever listened to WNDB, call from WNDB, say that I listen to body shows by Tasso
Fitness Friday, yep.
or WNDB. What I can do is offer a free consultation, a free demos, treatment, and to see if this is something for beneficial for our local community. So that is if our listeners want to explore acupuncture, free consultations, free treatment for first time, but they must mention WNDB.
All right. Dr. Fon, thank you very much. It's Dr. Fon of Acupuncture Beauty. 615-1203. 615-1203 is his phone number. He's located 725 West Granada. He's right next to Loman's Funeral Home. Dr. Fon, thank you for joining us today. And say hi, Dr. Price. Thank you very much for being there with your wife.
Yeah, glad to see you.
All right, and keep up. I know you train with my good friend, Dr. Fulton, who's another part of that big group of people we have that really are like-minded, and he's got you going good. I keep trying to steal you from him, but you won't leave the old guy. So thanks very much, Dr. Fon.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to try and finish up with 3 minutes
Sure.
left to try and finish up my functional 5. We just talked about the leg press machine and the importance of the leg machine and maintaining posture of walking and good posture and keeping strong. The final machine is the low back machine to strengthen the spine. Because remember, again, we have too many people walking around with a forward lean that number one makes them more susceptible to trip and fall, shortens their stride when they walk. That's why we're so important on the leg press to get good full range of motion, to keep those hamstrings loose, keep the legs strong to get you up and down out of the machine, out of chairs and that. And we talk about we got into a trend of this company. We want to do balance exercises with senior citizens. Balance exercises do you no good if you don't have the strength to maintain that balance and the muscular function of it. So we now want to get, again, it's full range of motion exercise. So now we have the back machine. So the back machine completes it for strengthening the back to keep good posture. And at some point in your life, almost every person has had a bad back or an injured back. And we have to strengthen and we have to keep the hamstring flexibility. So regular strength training at least twice a week can improve posture, it can enhance performance, and it can reduce your risk of injury and reduce your risk of falls as well. Regular strength training will produce well-defined, compact musculature that's pleasing to the eye as well. Our one-set training philosophy that we teach is an excellent way to get results in a very short amount of time, because we're going to teach you how to train at the right pace, the right posture, the right position, and to maintain your safety and be able to progress. Number 4 is I want people to know that women will not develop large muscles when they weight train. They'll develop stronger muscles, and yes, you do want to work hard because you want long, strong muscles. You do not have the testosterone content. Most women do not have to. When I say most women, it's like 1 out of every 10 million have the potential to do it naturally. Okay, strength training will delay the onset of aging by maintaining functional capacity. Functional capacity is not about all these functional exercises that people want you to do. So the phone number is 672-6464, and it is a great time to get involved with our summer special. And Dave, how many seconds we got left? I know we're getting pretty close.
Got half a minute.
Half a minute, almost perfect timing then. So phone number is 672-6464. The Hot Body Summer Program, $199 for membership until September the 10th. All the great specials we have going in it gives you all of our programs. 672-6464. God bless. Have a great weekend and enjoy Father's Day.
Daytona's news, Daytona's weather, and Daytona's traffic can only be found on Daytona's morning news station. AM 1150 WNDB, Daytona Beach.